I'll ask you, I don't know, my voice is really low when I just first turned that on. Did you hear how low that was? I probably need to get some water in a little bit.
Okay.
So we're hanging out.
Okay.
What's the date?
Today it's December 7th. It's Abby's birthday. She's 33 today.
33. And it's also Pearl Harbor Day.
Oh, it is?
I think so. I think Abby's birthday fell on Pearl Harbor Day, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's 2018.
Yeah.
Right? So we just had a bit of a time of prayer, and we are talking about just what to do when a person moves on and goes on to eternity. And we're talking about all the details. There's a list of all the details and thoughts that Grandma has, and we're gonna work out how do we go about that, which is always a fun conversation. Right? But we wanted to talk first a little bit about, well, your life, and maybe record this so that someday when my sons are older and when I'm later on and I, and you're gone for a while, that I can turn back to this.
Okay.
And remember some of the things that Grandma, the wisdom, the nuggets and the memories that Grandma wanted to pass on to us. So this is Wanda J. Reimer. How old are you this year?
I'm 88.
88?
Yeah.
Okay. And how you feeling? How's life?
Well, at this age, it could be better, but I'm doing the best I can with what's left that still works.
Is that you find that that's a similar story for like everyone, like as you deteriorate? Is that sort of?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. It's becomes a struggle, and I also know that if I didn't have God in my life, it would be much worse.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, I can go to him and
I'm just coming out to get cream and egg for the coffee. Okay.
And that was Abby.
I can always, that was Abby running through getting her coffee. What do I mean by that?
Yeah, like
He's always there for me. When my strength leaves me physically and mentally, I know I can always depend on him, even though it's very difficult sometimes, more so than others. But God's been good to me, and he is good to me now. He's always there for me.
And you feel like that, does that give you like some hope that you where things might feel just useless and futile and scary, do you find that like knowing that God is with you all the time, that somehow that makes the current situation bearable and you can endure it better?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I feel sorry for the people that don't have God in their life because they have nobody to go to. And I always have God to go to for everything, that all my needs, no matter what they are. I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. Good. So let's just say that we're all hanging out in a room together, which someday, at your memorial, when we're sitting around and we're all recalling our time with you and the things that you contributed to, our lives and our memories of you. If you were gonna, I know this is difficult, but if you were gonna try to distill down into like, here are the really important things, what would you say to your family and to your friends? Like what is most important, what's been most important to you, and what would you advocate to be most important for other people?
To love each other, to be kind to each other. There's so much, I don't know which which direction to go
Well,
to
let's break it
sometimes.
down into categories. So, what about when it comes to your work ethic, for example? Like, what you were a hard worker. I mean, you went
I
to work for a
was.
long time,
I was.
and that started off at a young age, like on the farm. You know, you were milking cows, and
No, I
or
was
like
not.
what were
I
you,
never milked a
what,
cow. I
whatever
was
you do on farms.
I was 13 when we moved into the city, and I loved the city. And I went to work at 14, and I worked all my life till I was 62, except for 5 years when I was home having my babies.
And I picked you up at 62 at Safeway,
Yes,
and we walked out together.
yes, and you laughed at me because I took my work clothes off and I told you to throw them in the garbage.
That's right.
And you were a little horrified, but we laughed about it, and you did it because I didn't want to see them again.
Right.
But had always been thankful that I had a good job, especially after Hank died. So I was thankful for that all my life, that I had a good job and I was able to support myself. And so God blessed me in that respect as well, even though it was very hard to be on my own all of a sudden. And losing my husband when I was only 49
Yeah, that was tough, huh?
was very tough. But God has been with me through all my tough times.
Right. So regarding marriage, then, like, what would you say, like, just thoughts on marriage? Like, how do you do marriage well?
Well, I can't say enough about being thoughtful and kind to each other. Be careful how you speak to each other. Show respect for each other. And of course, when you love each other, that comes with that. But some marriages, it doesn't. But that's the only way you'll get through a good marriage, because you're going to have your ups and downs no matter how good your marriage is.
Right.
But you have to be respectful of each other, and be careful how you talk to each other. Be careful what you do, and mostly have God in your life, that He helps you with all the things that come along in life, because there's many, many things that come along in life, and just take the feet from under you. And if you don't have God's strength with you, you go down.
So talk about that, specifically your relationship with Jesus Christ, and talk about your relationship with God. What would you say about not only your relationship with God, but like how would you talk about that and to other people? Like, what would you say about that?
Well, I was raised in a Christian home, and so I didn't know anything else, but I also know that I really gave my heart to God when the girls were little. I remember so distinctly going to the altar in a small Nazarene church.
I told her try not to cry because I knew she was going to cry, but here we are. It's okay.
That's okay. Crying is good sometimes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And that changed my life completely.
You feel like your whole focus changed?
It has to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, who is Jesus to you?
Who is Jesus? He's everything. He's everything. He's there for me morning, noon, and night. It doesn't matter what my day is like, good or bad, He's always there. Always. the first thing I go to in the morning and the last thing at night.
You see him as your creator?
Absolutely.
So not only he gave you life, you would say, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
everything you have is from him, but then somehow he gave you even like a deeper life when you in that Nazarene church. Like there's
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's the most special day in my life, and I can still see the minister's face, and I sometimes wish I could see him and tell him how precious he was to me. He picked me and the girls up and took me to church because I didn't drive at that time. And yeah, I don't know what day or anything like so many people do, but I sure remember the day, the church, the minister's face. And what a precious day it was. And I went home to tell my husband what had happened. And he respected me, even though he didn't know Jesus personally at that time, but he always respected my choices. So I was thankful of that. Many people don't have that.
some people talk about, like the Bible talks about this idea of a person experiencing a new birth, like they've like you acknowledge that there's a creator, a God that gave you like physical life, but when you go in front of that church and you pray with that pastor or whatever the case is, people have that moment, and not only they, but the Bible describes this idea of like a new life coming out of that. Do you see your life before that moment and your life after that moment as two distinct chapters?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Day and night. Day and night. It was the most precious day of my life.
And
Best decision I ever made.
what about then at that moment the Bible says something about salvation? What does that mean to you, salvation?
I'm not good with things like that, Travis. You know that. But salvation, it means everything I did from then on was it God's will?
Yeah.
Is this what God wanted me to do? Is this what God wanted me to say? And but some things were very hard too, and you had to stand firm, even though you didn't understand what was happening or why it was happening in your life. But you have to stand firm.
So the salvation for you then was like a complete reorientation.
Oh,
like everything changed. The whole motivation for everything changed.
absolutely, and it has to this day.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what would you say then to other people out there who are listening or might be watching this? What would you say to them specifically about Jesus and about God in their own lives?
Well, I actually feel sorry for the people that don't know God, and I would just say to them, make a decision to live for God, because it'll change your life completely for the good, and you'll never be sorry you did.
Good. What are if you got to look back on your life, and let's put it in two categories. In one category, you have like chapters of your life, and you're going to say like, when I was a kid, or when I was living in this place, or when I was working here, or whatever. So on one hand, you have chapters. On the other hand, you have specific memories. What are some of your favorite sort of time periods of your life? And then beyond that, what is maybe one of your most specifically favorite memories that you've ever had?
Well, as everybody knows, my sister and I married brothers, and we were very close. The whole family was very close. We did many, many things together. And I specifically remember one summer we went to Chelan to do camping a couple of times with the family. And there was, they were 6 and we were 4, so we piled into cars, had a tent, and it was so enjoyable. We had such a good time, so many laughs.
Do you have campfires and stuff?
Oh, yeah. I remember my sister and I cooked spaghetti one day, and she tried to drain it, and they all fell on the floor, on the ground.
Like on the dirt?
And she picked them up and rinsed them off, and we
Oh, no.
and her and I were just laughing constantly. Nobody knew what had happened till after.
Wow.
But we always had such a good time together, all of us.
Did you guys go swimming in the lake?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Did you ever have, like, back when you were living back in, like, was it Manitoba that you spent a lot of your young life in?
Well, I was, as you know, I was born in Kansas. And my parents moved to Manitoba when I was only 3. And that's where I lived till I was, I got married there in Winnipeg.
How old were you when you got married?
I was 19,
Okay.
going just almost 20, and your grandpa was 21, and we got married in 1950, and we had a very small wedding, but it was perfect. Coldest day of the year in Manitoba.
What was the date of your?
January 14th.
That's coming up.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, it was so cold that we had a cab that took us to the church, just the small, not the big church, but the, what am I thinking of? Just the ministers, just a small room where we got married because we had a very small wedding.
Right.
And on our way home, it was so cold, the handle of the car broke off. It just snapped right off.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
So we're talking like talking sub-zero temperatures.
Oh, yeah, 30 below.
Holy mackerel.
It was cold.
That is not, I would not want to experience that.
We didn't know any better. We were both raised in that kind of weather, so we didn't know any different.
Wow. No, thank you.
But that was a very cold day. We were warm at heart, but it was cold outside.
You mentioned one time, speaking of chapters in your life, that you like the city. You like living in the city.
I did, yeah,
and
I did.
You mentioned like when you and Grandpa moved out here to like, is it Vancouver area?
We moved into the Abbotsford area.
Abbotsford, and you, I maybe I'm recalling this wrong, but I recall you mentioning something about like the house was not ideal, but and you were sitting on milk crates or something, or you were it was something funky about the place you first moved into.
Let's see, I'm trying to think of what we first moved into. I don't even remember. We lived with Lou and Pete for a while before we lived on our own, and I can't remember what we moved into, to be honest with you.
Huh. I could be remembering it wrong. I thought there was some sort of like a basement or like a lower, like an apartment that was like a lower part of a house. And
no, I don't recall
that. Well, I don't know what I'm talking about, so thankfully she's here to correct me.
Well, it was not unusual for people to, didn't have everything like they do nowadays.
Right.
Especially when you first got married. You just didn't. It was not unusual for people to live.
Share a house.
Well, we didn't share a house, but what we moved into was always very small, and sometimes when the girls came along, we actually shared a bedroom. And like I say, people didn't have it all like they seem to want everything now immediately.
You sort of made do with what you had.
Oh, absolutely. I never thought we were deprived.
And what were you happy? Did you find?
Absolutely, we were. I never felt we were deprived, and I still don't to this day.
I saw this quote that says, just recently, that says, contentment makes what you have enough.
Yes, absolutely.
So that would sort of summarize
Yes,
that
it
part.
certainly would.
And you feel like you've carried that through your life? Is that
Yes.
That's an important principle
Yes.
to live by?
Yes, it certainly is. It isn't what you have, it's what you have in your heart, not what you have,
Right.
what you can buy. Doesn't cut it. It's what you have in your heart. It's how you treat people. It's how you treat yourself, because you're God's person. You belong to God. You don't belong to yourself.
Hmm.
And you have to treat yourself that way.
As if you're not your own, like you're somebody else's property.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're God's property. And if you don't honor that,
it's not going to go well for you.
no way is it going to go well. And there's things happen in your life that you don't expect. I didn't expect to be a widow at 49. So there's things that happen in your life that if you aren't strong in God's word, you can't handle them.
Right.
It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. When you moved out here and you said you moved in with Lou and Pete for a while?
No, we moved before Lou and Pete did.
Oh.
But they lived close to us. When they moved here, they lived just in the next block from us, so we were really close.
Did you guys cook meals together
Oh
and
my
eat together
gosh,
all the time?
All the time we cooked meals together and shared. We went to church together. We went to choir practice together. And kids all grew up together. And of course now we have Todd, who is my sister and brother-in-law's grandson, and he's now in our family. And we love him.
So, so that community of being together as couples and stuff back then, was that's sort of a lost thing in our world right now.
Totally lost. There wasn't hardly, even growing up, when I was home, Sunday, you went to church and you shared a Sunday meal with somebody.
Right, every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Yeah.
Whether you went to somebody's place or they came to your place, but you shared a Sunday. And if you didn't share the meal, at the noon meal after church, you shared what we call in the Mennonite community FASPA.
FASPA, I like FASPA.
Which is, of course, a dying thing as well.
It shouldn't die.
It shouldn't, but it has died. Even in the Mennonite community.
So what is FASPA? Tell me what
FASPA is just a small, you have coffee. It was mostly coffee or cold tea a lot of times. Not necessarily hot tea, but cold tea. And homemade rolls, which we called twebak. And you had cold cuts and cheese and dishes, bowls of canned fruit and things like that. It wasn't a big meal like you had on Sunday after church. And always homemade baked goods, always.
What's your favorite dinner?
My favorite dinner? I would have to say Vareniki.
Vareniki, yeah, okay.
Which, of course, is pierogies.
Right, which is, then again, so describe that meal so people know, because some are not just any pierogies, right? Like, describe the ideal scenario.
The ideal pierogi is made with dry cottage cheese, and you mix eggs into it. And you mix the yolk of the eggs with the cottage cheese, and the whites go into the dough. And then you roll it out, and you take a spoon of cottage cheese, put it on the dough, and then fold the dough over and cut it, and then you boil it, not very long, and then you serve it with sour cream gravy and ham, and and of course in those days it was always farmer sausage.
Farmer sausage.
And then it be, people that didn't have farmer sausage, which most Mennonites did, then it was served with ham. We ate more ham and bacon than we did beef.
Amen. Preach it. You're preaching now. I like this. This is good stuff. This is preaching about bacon and ham. Like that's from Jesus.
So that's because people didn't kill beef like they do now. It's so much beef, whereas we killed pigs, and it was canned or smoked. It was always cured, and that's what we had for the winter. We did. My mother and most households did canned farmer sausage, and it's absolutely delicious canned.
Mm. And not all farmer sausage is made equal, right? Like there are definitely some farmer sausages that are better than others.
Oh, absolutely. Some people make much better farmer sausage than others, but nowadays you can't hardly get it anywhere. But we're lucky to be able to get it at in Abbotsford, British Columbia,
which is only like an hour away from
Yeah.
here, and I've grown up on it.
Oh, I know
And
you have.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like it
There's
truly,
just-
there's
yeah,
nothing around here
There's
like
nothing around it. Nothing like. Never found anything close to it. So, thankfully, we still enjoy that. And I used to go and get about $100 worth when I was still driving, but now Britt gets it for me, and sometimes Travis said he will get it if we can't get it any other way, because it isn't that far away.
No. For farmer sausage? Yeah, we're going over the border.
Yeah. So yeah, I have very, very good memories of my life, and like I say, God has been with me through thick and thin, and things have happened in my life that I never expected. Some good, some bad, and they're very difficult.
Can I share a couple of my favorite memories with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll give you a couple of my favorites. One, when I was living with you.
Yes. And you left all the dishes for me?
Yeah, that was the younger me. There was we spent 6 summers, 6 years together. 5 years? 5 years
I
together.
Don't know.
From 16 to 21 is when I lived with you. And
I didn't realize you lived with me that long.
yeah, 5 years. It
Must have been pretty good.
5 awesome years. When in the evenings in the summertime, when we would set out on your porch, on your big back deck that Dad developed, and we'd set out underneath that arbor thing.
Yeah.
And you would always have a big bucket of sweet tea in the fridge, and we would sit there and drink sweet tea. or sometimes in the fall when it would get more crisp, we'd make red rose, like a hot cup of red rose.
Yes.
And we'd sit out there and we would just visit for like a long time. And then sometimes Uncle Harvey would come and he'd be there and he'd come out with us, and we would just have really good conversation.
We did. Absolutely. It was very special. Very special.
And so that's one of them. Another one is when there used to be a feeling in your old house that I would walk in at Christmas time, and you had your old tree, your fake tree, in the corner, and it had the red lights on it, but they actually kind of glowed pink,
Yes.
which fits you well because you like pink. And I remember when you got new carpet, like all the carpet was kind of a purpley pink with a pattern in it. after you replace all the green and the red carpet, all the shag went away. But I remember walking into your house, and I'm not sure what. This is more of a feeling around you that I got all the time, was that your house always felt at Christmas time like home, like the essence of what home is. Like,
Oh,
and you had that little village,
yeah.
and it was always set up on the you had that long kind of a tall end table by the entry door,
Yeah.
and then your tree was pink and kind of like a low pink light, and and then you had that thing that would tinkle, like you would light the candles on that thing.
Oh, yeah, a little angel thing. That
Yeah.
went round and round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would do this like light kind of a tinkling noise.
Yeah.
Your house always smelled and felt a certain way that I can't really describe, but that, that I remember sitting there on Christmas Eve and just opening gifts and just being with you and having fondue. Remember we used to have fondue every
We
Christmas
always
Eve?
had fondue every Christmas.
And
Now Abby has the fondue pot.
that's amazing. It was awesome. And Uncle Bob and Uncle Bob would come over, and then Mike Snook.
Yeah.
And like all kinds of people would stop by.
Yeah, they did.
And the fire engine
Oh, yeah.
on Christmas.
Yes, they always came by.
And your buddy used to do it, and some guy would drop by the house sometimes, and was it Mike something or other, who would come in a Santa suit.
Yeah, who was that?
I don't remember.
I can't remember that either, but I remember he came.
Anyway, Christmas at your house and the cream cheese bars, and that was so Christmassy. Like, I
Yes,
think about
it
that, and it was
was.
Christmas. And we listened to the Chipmunks Christmas on a record player. It was on a record.
Yeah, we listened to their songs. There was no pictures, just their songs.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was awesome. So those
Good
are
memories.
a couple of my
Good
favorite
memories. Yeah, that's great. I had kind of forgot about them, but those were wonderful memories, wonderful times.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the process of creating that with my family, and I know Andrea and Steve are creating that with their family, and everybody, Bo and Blair and Britt and Matt, and everybody's sort of, Abby and Chris, they're like, we're all just, the next generation is making all kinds of different memories and doing all kinds of different traditions and things, and in life changes and morphs over time and stuff. But all the things, man, I mean, you contributed so much to the formation of how I see the world and how I interact with the world, and you taught me to cook in a lot of ways, and you probably gave me too much leniency when I was young.
I did.
But it was awesome.
It was just okay. I've never been sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. It was a fun time.
Yes, it was.
But like, by the time people see this video, it will be hopefully years and years from now. And I'm recording it now because I don't want you to be in a real bad place when I record this. But all of us are going to go through a place where we get to that real bad point where we're like, okay, my body is not doing what it used to. It's going to shut down, and I'm going to eventually go on to eternity. I'm going to be with my maker.
Thank God.
And so as you approach, some might call it sort of like the twilight of your life, right?
Yeah.
And you're in your late 80s, and you're heading toward the finish line.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
Yeah. What?
I'm be glad to be at the finish line.
Yeah. So what's the hope in your heart for that? Like, what do you long for, or do you have a longing to sort of in a sense go home? Like, is there part of you that wishes for that?
Oh, absolutely. I am so ready to go. I am weary mentally and physically. I am ready to go home.
Yeah.
But I keep praying that my family is going to be ready to go as well, no matter how old they are.
That's good.
They need to be ready to go. And I pray for my family all the time, because that's important for me, that my family will be ready and that they will love each other. First love God, and then the rest will fall into place. Your life will fall into place when you love Jesus. And that's the only way to live.
So right now then, let's bring it to a close. So let's say that at this point, if they're watching it and it's your memorial, you are dead. Okay? You're gone. And you are, the reality for you is pretty amazing at this moment. Okay? Like right now, your reality when you're there, actually standing before the Creator, and all of the things that you believe in, all your faith has become sight. You're talking, if you could talk back to the people right now and you were going to just distill all of the things in your life down to a couple little statements, what do you want to tell people from where you're at? How should they feel about your passing, and what do you want to tell them?
Well, I pray that I've done and said things that will want them to follow my footsteps. And most important, that they follow Jesus. That's the most important thing. And when you follow Jesus, your footsteps will fall into the right path. And that's the most important thing. And I just pray for the people, the family and the people I leave behind, that they will love Jesus and love their family, love the people around them, even if they don't always agree with them. Love them. Be careful what they say to each other. Be careful what you say to other people. Be kind and loving to everybody you meet, and show them that God is in your life. That is the most important thing in life.
And don't feel bad for you, because you are in a good spot right now, right?
Absolutely. If I'm gone, I am so happy. Don't ever feel bad. Rejoice.
Yeah.
The day that I go. Don't cry. Well, yeah, you can cry if you want to, because that's something that is just normal. But rejoice for me that I am where I want to be.
Yeah. You're not hurting anymore there.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. No pain. I'll be able to see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I am very tired. I am weary of life. I am ready to go.
Yeah. And we, all of us, we love you.
And I love all of you. It's been a good life in many ways. It's been hard sometimes, but we always got through it. And with God's help, never forget that. And just live your life the way God would want you to live it.
I think that's probably a good place to end.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're signing off, and we will see you later.
Not me.